Hi, how you doing? Welcome back to yet another review session. Hopefully you find these helpful and moderately enjoyable. Today's chapters 10 and 12, and we'll hopefully get this done in one part. If not, we'll go to two parts. The overall theme of chapters 10 and 12, this dynamic growth of America, we're talking about the unified national economy or the national market economy and all the different forces that play a part into that wheel of the American commerce. And so this is what all those different segments of that chart was mainly used for. So let's kind of take those down one by one. Again, forces that are creating a unified national market. We have our three distinct regions. We have the North, South, and now the West, who's becoming a major political and economic player. So, first part was Henry Clay and his proposed American system. The vote for Henry Clay is a vote for progress. And he is in favor of government promoting industry and commerce. He's in favor of the bill of internal improvements on our sheet with the bonus bill. So he's in favor of internal improvements. Henry Clay, of course, is from the West, and I would say early pressure for the government for internal improvements came from the western states, which of course would allow them to get their goods to market. Use of a tariff and to protect American industry, raise revenue, to foster a sense of American economy, and of course the Bank of the United States, which would be used to regulate the economy and a place to store the tariffs and land sales. So whenever there is a boom in the economy, which there was after the War of 1812, delish. Whenever there's a boom in the economy, and again, remember the nickname of this time period was the era of good feelings, which, all right, sounds great, hallmarky, but what does it really mean? That we have a prolonged period of economic prosperity, and from a political standpoint, you had one political party. So the kind of the vision of Washington, in essence, is coming to fruition. So whenever you have a boom in the economy, always look other forces just besides the industry. But what kind of technological innovations were made? And here we have creations of canals, steamboats, railroads, all right, plow, mechanical reaper, cotton gin. These are all technological innovations. Some in transportation, some in communication. I'm talking about you, Morse, with your telegraph. What's that? Yes, they all will get A's on the test on Monday. Yeah, these are all technological innovations. So let's start with the canal boom. Again, canals connecting a trench connecting, one body of water to another. So in essence, let's get from the Atlantic Ocean and let's get all the way to the Great Lakes. Well, one easy way to do that, dig a hole, all right? Dig a big hole in the middle of New York, all right? And so that, obviously, we're referencing the Erie Canal. So the early 19th century is the canal boom, and all these canals are connecting water routes, which, of course, speed of commerce, all right? And Jenna Weiss, what happens when the speed of commerce, what happens? Very good. Prices go down. Outstanding. Good job, Jenna. Now, the big issue was, of course, paying for these canals, right? Who's going to pay for it? The constitutional issue, the hang-up, of course, should the federal government be in the canal business? That was hotly debated. So primarily in the canal industry was the payment was really private companies, some state funds, and very, very few federal funds, but some were there, which will in stark contrast to the railroads, which of course is will be really sponsored and funded by the federal government circa 1850s. So whenever there's the canal routes, right? What does it also foster? Good old American ingenuity. Steamboats. So steamboats are able to go upriver, downriver, so we have two-way traffic. Speed, again, is the essence. In this way, we can get our goods, we can link our west to the north and southern states, and this is exactly what was able to tie those regions together and really bring a whole new agricultural sense to the economy. Rather than all of our cash crops going out to Europe, now we can keep that in the domestic sphere. Another big aspect of this time period was the role of the Supreme Court. The two big issues that we talked about with John Marshall's court is his decisions to two things. One, strengthen the superiority of the federal government over the states, and that, of course, was visible in Fletcher v. Peck, 1810, when the Supreme Court struck down a state law, called it unconstitutional. We also see that in Gibbons v. Ogden, that the federal government will regulate interstate trade, and that was in 1824. And then in 1819, in McCulloch v. Maryland, Marshall is clearly saying that the state of Maryland does not have the authority to tax the federal government, being the Bank of the United States. And also by declaring that, he also settles the issue, the constitutional issue, if the Bank of the United States is, of course, constitutional or not, and according to John Marshall, it's constitutional. He is, of course, the last of the dying breed we know as Federalists. The other aspect of the Supreme Court issues that impacts business is the validity, or to use the phraseology of one John Marshall, you got to protect the sanctity of a contract, and one party cannot alter a contract. It has to be two parties. And we see in Dartmouth College and Fletcher v. Peck, but also had to deal with the sanctity of contracts. And so basically all business transactions will be done via the contract, because a contract is a legal document not to be altered by one party. We also discussed the land rush. And so 1820, the federal government is opening the doors of the West, surveying, plotting out the lands at reduced prices, and they are trying to foster westward migration. And we talked about the squatters, the people that had already taken hold of Western territory. And through the Preemption Act of 1830, squatters were able to go out ahead of the surveyors and stake their claim at lower prices, and then the federal government would then partition off the land, and then, of course, sell that off to mainly to land speculators or our German immigrants looking for a new life. We also, in that column, we also had some technological inventions that also paved the way for farming in the Midwest: the steel plow with Deere and the mechanical reaper by Cyrus McCormick. Two major inventions that helped settle the Midwest and bring an agriculture revolution to the Midwest, and forever changing the diets of many Americans. That last column has to do with factory systems, and basically what we started that column with Eli Whitney, which again, Eli Whitney, to talk quickly about the cotton gin. I know that was in 1790, but we see the effects of it a decade or so later. With the cotton gin, Whitney creates a device that, cotton is pulled through a bunch of teeth and keeps the seeds here and all the fluffy cotton. It's so fluffy. For all you Despicable Me fans, you have the fluffy cotton all ready to go. So what the cotton gin basically does, it creates a higher demand for cotton, and on the negative side of the cotton gin, it basically makes the South dependent on slave labor, and the need for slavery rises. Whitney also comes along with the interchangeable parts, which is the precursor to mass assembly. And he basically was able to, rather than, for him, it was with guns. Rather than make the whole new gun, you were just mass producing particular parts. So this kind of all jump starts the industrial rev and the factory system in America. Our first factory system, of course, was the textiles, right? Robert Lowell, the Lowell Mills of Massachusetts. So with the abundance of cotton, this jumpstarts the textile industry in the north, and typical workers are the young New England farm girls that heading off to the mills for economic opportunity, and it was mainly employment of young single women, and again, boarding house meets sweatshop equals Lowell Mills, and that kind of becomes the landscape of New England in the early 19th century. And in consequence of all these factories popping up, you're having the idea or the notion of the creation of the factory town, which of course factories are dependent upon a single company, and a single company really pretty much employs everybody in the town. This is the end of part 1. Please stay tuned for part 2. Thanks. Bye-bye.